We live in strange times, David. We live in strange COVID lockdown times, so we have to leave our masks on. Sorry about that. There will be subtitles though for those of you that can't hear.
And I'm smiling.
And I'm smiling as well. This week we're here to review Toyota's recently facelifted Camry Hybrid Ascent. Just about every model in Toyota's range now comes in a hybrid. And this has 4 models and each of those has a hybrid. Let's have a look at the hybrid engine. David, give that a tug up for me.
There's a little bit of a problem here. I can't push it down, it doesn't work. I've got to pull it up. I don't know that I like that, but at least they're hydraulic, so I don't have to...
There's a strut, so we don't have to mess around. But look, there's nothing much to see in this 2.5 litre hybrid. There's a petrol motor on this side and an electric motor over on this side. One thing I'd like to point out is the bi-LED headlights, which I think look quite smart. The interesting thing about the front of the car is that although it's complex, it's also reasonably bland.
I think it is. Look, the filling in space here is just almost no pattern to it.
Well, it is just decorative, and the grille consists of a top part, the upper grille, and the lower grille. Now remember, this is just the base model, so this is about 34,000 plus a couple of grand for the upgraded radio and the upgraded colour. So this is, what do they call it, Blacksmith Bronze? I'm not quite sure how they get blacksmith out of that, but it does sparkle in the sun. I mean, that really is quite iridescent.
It's much more of a blacksmith that I haven't known, but more of a modern urban
Well, I go to
chic.
those special clubs where they have blacksmiths, so, you know, that should come as no surprise. The 17-inch wheels, you said they look a little bland.
The mag wheels, I think, are pretty traditional.
And we move along the car. There's some quite nice twists and curves, but it is still, they've kept it to a minimum.
Not a strong line there, but still nonetheless, and there's a little bit of a...
It's what we call the shoulder. Now just here is where you lock and unlock the car. If you've got the key in your pocket, it'll lock here and unlock there. There's none, you'll notice, on the back door. The tail lights are quite nice. They wrap right around the corner of the car. But the one thing about all Toyota hybrids, and really a lot of other brands too, is you can tell they're hybrids by the fact that there's a little bit of blue inside the insignia, and it's got a slightly kind of 3D effect. David's got the key in his pocket, so he's just going to open the boot now. Inside, there's actually quite a lot of space. It goes back quite a long way. Underneath, now the boot is open, you can see that there's the tools for the tyre changing. David, have a look at the space saver spare. One thing you can do is lower the back seats from here at the back, which I think makes such a big difference if you're in a hurry. David's got the key in his pocket still, so he's just going to unlock the doors and get into the back seat.
Pretty easy to get in there, plenty of room here. Can put my feet under the seat, I'm comfortable here. Armrest.
And David, I am going to do the head joke. How's your head?
Pretty close there. That's probably only about half an inch. Best.
Now remember, this is the base model, so we've only got a couple of vents in the back. And the armrest though, David, that still makes you feel pretty posh, but does that upholstery make you feel posh?
No.
It's a little bit, I've got to say, I don't like it at all. It's a little bit low rent.
It looks like an old suit, doesn't it?
It looks like a really old suit. And the plastic on the top of the doors, David, that feels a bit low rent as well.
Opens wide. I can access that very easily.
That doesn't look too bad, and as usual, the topping of the front door is much, much softer. There's just the normal power window controls and mirror controls here, and the door lock. What's that button down on the side of the seat, David? Lumbar support,
yes,
is it?
Yes, it is.
Lumbar? So it's got an electric lumbar support in a base model. Over on the right-hand side, you've got some switches for automatic high beam. That's on most of the time. You've also got the boot opener and the petrol opener, plus a pretty standard Toyota steering wheel these days. Nice big centre display, and that's where, if the door wasn't open, there'd be the driving data and road stuff and what have you. We do have smart cruise control, active lane control, and this car also has Apple CarPlay. So that system also includes DAB, which is nice to see. There's a couple of cup holders at the front. There's some drive modes which are essential in a hybrid. You can also go EV only, and there's brake hold there beside that. And behind that, there's an electric parking brake. There's a little tray in front of that, but it's this asymmetric dash that does my head in. Absolutely does my head in. But David, even in the base model, we get dual climate control. I think that's just extraordinary. I do like the Toyota system, which gives you buttons down either side, and they're fixed, they're there all the time, they're physical buttons, and a nice big screen, although the whole look of it is a little bit childlike. I'm not fussed on these little bits of trim though. I think that makes it look a little bit cheap. I just don't like this set out, but that's a matter of personal choice.
It tries to be a bit busy here to make a point, including this faux sort of...
Yeah, and I've never been a fan of blanks either. But there is a nice big centre bin. But what they've done is they've tried to make it so that they get the maximum possible stuff into the minimum possible price. Let's take it out on the road. Now, as you can see behind me, David's in the GTI. So we've had the Golf GTI Mark 8 this week and this Toyota Hybrid. And the differences in the drive could not be more marked. This is extremely comfortable. You could do a very long trip in it, and because it's a Camry, it's as comfortable on the highway as it is around town. Like all hybrids, it was made to do around town stuff the most economically. And we've been getting around 5 litres per 100 kilometres, which in a full-size car, I think is rather astounding. I'm not going to say this is sporty, because it certainly isn't sporty. Now that we've stopped, you can see down on the front, the little energy monitor is telling me exactly what's going on, whether it's the wheels recharging or the engine charging the car or the brakes. This will capture all of the energy that would normally be wasted by a conventional petrol car. All of that energy you put into speeding up, you waste when you slow down. This does none of that. It captures the lot. I like the fact that the vision all round is very clear. It's very easy to see out of. There's great view backwards from the mirrors and from the rear vision mirror. There's a camera for reversing, which I'll show you in a moment. Let me just show you that. Hope I've not alarmed anyone behind. There's a reasonably clear camera, though it could actually be a little bit clearer. That's always, I think, been a bit of a weak point for Toyota. Their reversing cameras look a little bit low quality. Nonetheless, the steering is reasonably light. Doesn't change very much with drive modes, and certainly putting it in sport makes very little difference. The 17-inch wheels allow quite a lot of the muck to be soaked up. The rest is soaked up by the suspension, which is very soft. We're taking off now, and we're in EV mode. Still in EV mode. Still in EV mode. And you'd be surprised at how much time you spend in eco mode. I would just put it in normal mode and leave it there. For a change, that seems to be the best way to go. As it changes from EV only mode into petrol, so whether the petrol's charging the car or driving the car, there's just the slightest little bump. You can just feel it if you're really, really conscious of it. Other than that, you can't feel a thing. And I think that's the important thing to note about Toyota, is that they may not have been the first with hybrid, but they were the ones that stuck with it. Honda was the first, and they didn't have a lot of success. Or at least in Australia, their models didn't sell well. It's reasonably quiet, even at highway speed. And rather cheekily, it asks you if you want to close your window. So you can either use the window button or press yes, and it'll wind the window up for you. Look, you're not going to buy a Camry if you want something luxurious, but it is really hard to be beaten on price and space. But if you've liked the film, hit like.
Make a comment.
And here to subscribe.